East Timor, Susar Barak, Tebtebis. Translated. The people of Timor suffer greatly, and this is true. Zulius is supposed to, says this, rising and addressing the group. His face is alive in the candlelight. The harsh syllables of his native language Tetun bounce off the walls of our hovel and echo in my ears. This is how most of the stories begin. Ne los tebes. Translated. This is true. The old men echo his sentiment. They sit around the edges of Zoao's small living area on rough-hewn benches or on the dirt floor. I had 2 weeks left in training as part of the 5th Peace Corps volunteer group in East Timor. We were hosted in the small village community of Balibar. I lived with an older subsistence farmer named Zoao La Costa and his family. During the long evenings, we would sit and tell stories. It was the time when Indonesians were in Timor. I was a young man. I did not have a wife. I did not have a family. It was night, and I was with my friends. I was a little drunk. Liar, yell the older men. Drunkard, yell the younger men, who know how much Zulia loves palm wine. A little drunk only, Zulia says, pretending to stagger. Zulia lives in the house next to ours. He is squat and short, with a pot belly made entirely of muscle. His dark hair is machete-shaved near his scalp. He has a stretchable, mischievous face and an easy, plump smile. Unlike most of the men in our aldea, Zulia has a job in the capital city of Dili, working with the police to provide security for visiting dignitaries. At home, Zulia always has one of his 3 young children held in his oversized arms, but not now. I started this evening with a story about a time in America when a police officer had so surprised me that I accidentally spit out the soda in my mouth all over his uniform. The officer yelled at me, but eventually calmed down. Zulia laughed the loudest of all when I did an encore of the spit take, spraying water all over the young boys who huddled on the ground at their elders' feet. Then he grinned and stood and began to speak. I was with 2 friends. One was small, and one very big and fat. We were not allowed to be out in the night. We were frightened when a van pulled up and an Indonesian soldiers got out. They yelled, "Who are you? What are you doing out tonight?" In the beginning there were no stories, just me and Zoom practicing language. Men from our aldea, a sharp, hilly community of about 30 families, began to join us. They laughed at how badly I spoke, making jokes in words that I could not comprehend, but they would stay and help me with pronunciation. About 3 weeks in, when I had enough words to sound like a stunned 2-year-old, I told a story about a huge spider I found in my room. The spider was so big, I told them, it yelled at me. Then I pretended to be a yelling spider. They loved the yelling spider. We spent that night with me imitating an angry spider and the men roaring with laughter. The next night the story got longer and more ridiculous. Many of the men could do the spider voice better than I could. Pretty soon, story nights were the norm, and the crowd began to grow. We were scared, and that is true. We are just walking home. We live far from here, we told the soldiers. They did not believe us. They hit us with their hands and sticks. We would only say we were walking home. True, say the old man in the circle. True. They pat the boys on their backs to get them to pay attention. The leader of the Indonesian soldiers got out of the van. You must all tell us what you are doing this night, he said, and we cried, Oh God, we are just walking home. But he did not believe us. Put them in the van, he said. Between 1999 and 2001, most of the buildings in East Timor were burned to the ground as the Indonesian occupation force ceded the country to UN-assisted self-rule. As the country burned, the departing soldiers pillaged East Timor, raping and killing as they went. I knew the men of Balibar had lived through terrible things during the 25-year occupation. There had been curfews, secret police, torture, camps, and disappearances. As a Peace Corps volunteer, I had been trained how to handle finding the unspent munition that often surfaced on their beaches. I had been told who to contact if I found remains or stumbled upon a mass grave. Then we were in the van. My little friend is by the back door, then me, then my big fat friend by the driver. The Indonesian soldier leader, he is saying, We will take you to the camp, and you will not see your family ever, ever. He is telling us what will happen at the camp. We are driving too fast for night. We are scared, and that is true. My big fat friend, he begins to cry. Like a little girl, he cries. He is shaking, and I am frightened and trying to pray to God for help, but my big fat friend is shaking too hard, and I cannot pray. Then the laughter begins. I'm laughing too because Zulia's imitation of trying to pray next to a mountain-sized man is hilarious. I'm also laughing because I don't know what else to do. "What were you doing tonight?" asked the soldier leader. "Oh, God, we were just walking home." Now we are all crying. "You are drunken liars. You are not worth the camp," says the soldier leader. He puts his foot on my big fat friend and pushes, and my big fat friend pushes me, and I push my little friend, and the back door to the van flies open. We are driving very fast. We fall out into the night. I am yelling, "Oh, God, I will lose the skin on my back." No. I land on my little friend. I am so happy that I have landed on him and not the road. The room is filled with laughter and cheers now. The men, normally so stoic, are slamming their hands on their knees. Zoaon sees the look on my face and begins to shake me by the shoulders, pointing at Zulia. Zulia throws his hand in the air and bends his knees. Oh, God, I am praying. Thank you for letting me land on my little friend and not the road. But then I remember my big fat friend. I look up and there is my big fat friend, and he is coming down the mountain fast, and then faster, bigger, faster. He hit me! Zulia lowers his arm now, and the laughter begins to fade. I get it. Zulia and I told the same story from different places. A boy's humorous encounter with the police where no one really got hurt. But it's not the same. We can never be the same. But I can understand. Eme Timor, Susar Barak. The people of Timor suffer greatly. And I know that this is true. Hi, this is Terry Lies. And this story is true. It's also one of the stories that make me wish I was a better storyteller.